Well, hello, and welcome to the podcast that must not be named. I'm Melissa.
I'm Luke.
And we are here discussing Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, chapter number 23, The Yule Ball. This chapter was a whopping 30 pages long, which is 4.09% of the book.
As the Yule Ball approaches, classes become a bit more lax and the students become a bit more antsy. Malfoy flings an insult to Hermione about her buck teeth, but Harry notices they're significantly smaller. Hermione admits she let Madame Pomfrey take them a bit further down than they had been when Malfoy had cursed her before. On Christmas morning, Harry is suddenly woken by Dobby, who crept into his room to give him a pair of homemade socks and receives a sweater from Ron. After all the presents are opened, the students have an elaborate snowball fight, which Hermione leaves early to get ready for the ball, hours ahead of the boys, still not telling Ron who her date is. At the ball, Harry and Parvati are seated at the head table with the other champions and their dates, Cedric and Cho, Fleur and Roger Davies, and Victor with a very pretty girl, Hermione. Hermione had detangled her hair and without all the books slung over her back, actually had excellent posture. Ron notices this and accuses Hermione of fraternizing with the enemy. Hermione, hurt by his insult, storms off, and he and Harry, after properly ignoring their own dates, head off to the grounds where they hide in some shrubs to avoid Snape and overhear Hagrid telling Madame Maxime about his mother, a giant. Maxime is insulted when Hagrid asks which side her gigantism comes from, and she leaves him sitting there by himself. Harry just focuses on a small black beetle, trying not to overhear this private moment. They head back into the dance, which really isn't much fun due to Ron's mood about Hermione, and Harry still wanting to be with Cho, when he is approached by none other than Cedric Diggory, who asks him if he's figured out the clue in the egg yet. Cedric tells Harry to use the private prefect bathroom to take a bath and bring the egg with him. Harry enters the Gryffindor common room to find Ron and Hermione in a heated fight, which ends with Hermione shouting,
"Next time there's a ball, ask me before someone else does, and not as a last resort."
All right, Luke, why don't you start us off there? Did you see any new characters in this particular section?
Only one actually new character, and that was Stebbins, who was the kid in the bushes with Miss Fawcett from Ravenclaw. But we did have a few first meetings. We met Padma Patil for the first... Well, I guess technically we met her in book 1 when they got sorted, but we've actually met her now that we know her first name. So I'm going to count it as a first interaction, like truly, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she has lines. That's better than Crabbe and Goyle.
It's true. She hasn't sneered or grimaced at all.
Or coughed menacingly or something like that.
But we also met the Weird Sisters, who we were referenced and introduced to a couple chapters back.
Yes, I feel like there should be some sort of musical overlay so we can hear what the Weird Sisters look like from JK's head.
I will say I do like the music that they work into the movie here.
Yes.
It is pretty good. That's not at all what I think the Weird Sisters sound like, but it doesn't make it any bad.
The question is really, do they play musical songs? But
we'll talk about that.
Oh, all right. I don't think we went anywhere new, unless you count the bushes as like a place we haven't actually spent time.
Okay, yeah, the garden bushes, okay.
Maybe.
Soft.
How about some magicabulary there?
We did have the name of the charm or curse that Cedric used against his dragon, right? He used the conjunctivitis curse to get past his dragon, which is what Sirius was going to recommend. And
that reminds me of two things. Like every time I read it, I either start singing Conjunction Junction from Schoolhouse Rock, or I think of Pink Eye.
Oh,
which
okay.
Is conjunctivitis. Like, yeah, it's either or both.
Yeah, I usually actually think of gingivitis just because of the sound.
Yeah, I would say probably the
But it's definitely more like a pink eye, stinging of the eye.
Yeah,
absolutely. The symptoms are much closer to yours. The sound is much closer to mine.
Yes. All right. We had a book, Themes of Britain and Ireland.
Say that one more time. Internet cut.
Oh, internet. I said we had a book called Quidditch Teams of Britain and Ireland.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's similar to this book.
Could be. I wonder if it's a more in-depth copy.
Or if it's maybe just a breakdown of the teams as opposed to like the overall history and rules of Quidditch through the ages. So
Yes.
that's probably true.
And then anything else?
Just Cribbage's Wizarding Crackers. Just another small treat, another small wizarding food that has been named.
All right. Guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It is time for an illustration discussion.
It sure
I
is.
need theme music for this now.
What?
I need some sort of theme music for my remembering of the illustration.
That sounds like more work.
It does. I'm not actually going to get it. I'm just saying. I feel like there should be some sort of fanfare or something playing every time I remember.
Okay.
So, illustration. I have it open.
Mm-hmm.
It's a statue of a deer and a fountain.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. With some shrubbery around the podium that it's on.
Bring me a shrubbery.
Well, that's nice, but not too expensive.
We are no longer the Knights of St. Niche. Okay. I get that it's a party and at some point they're outside, but this does nothing for me.
Yeah. I feel like there were a few other things that could have been shown, but I don't know. I guess this is kind of where it all culminates for this chapter. It all ends up in the garden bushes walk area, and I don't know. You can see them. You can see Harry and Ron hiding between their legs in it.
Right.
So I mean, it is an action scene. What's the action? They're hiding. So I think it's showing their incognito skills.
Ooh. Okay, fine. All right, so Luke, we're going to jump into some chapter notes here. And my first is just one of my favorite little line moments. Not that it's a favorite line, but a favorite moment is towards the beginning, and Hermione looks at Malfoy and it's like, oh, twitchy little ferret art to Malfoy.
Yeah.
I appreciate her giving it back to him a bit.
It was a pretty funny thing because he comes, waltzing up, basically being a total jerk, and she just throws it right back on him. He's like, you know what? I'm better than this, and guess what? I'm smarter than you.
But I'm not above insulting you.
Right, yeah. I'll get my jab in.
So I am really glad, so we talked about the conjunctivus, whatever you say it, pronunciation, not my strong suit. I'm glad we found out what Sirius wanted Harry to use. That was bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that if you're not watching for it, could slide right by, and you kind of miss that, yes, he did have an idea, and then we saw what it was, and then we were told, hey, that's what I was thinking you should do. It's those little itty-bitty details that really don't have much to do with the overall plot, but it's good to know that we wrapped up that little mystery.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to have a little bit of closure on something that seemed like it was a bit of a forced cut in the conversation exactly when, okay, about the dragon, the one simple thing you gotta do is, oh, I gotta go. A little heavy, but it's a kid's book, and guess what? You have to have those kind of cheesy, cut-off conversations here and there, and I'm okay with it. It's just every time it's like, man, just say the word conjunctivitis, I gotta go. Like that'd have been enough. Because then Harry would take that information, Hermione would find it, he would learn it.
But then what are you good at, and how do you get what you need?
Right. I'm not helping you, but here's the answer.
In very basic terms.
Right. Another thing, right before Malfoy's sneers and jeers, we find out that Hermione had shrinked up her teeth a little bit more, and
she made them little.
And and I don't know. I thought that conversation was pretty interesting because she doesn't usually seem like super self-conscious about things or very focused on image or anything. But she even says, I've been asking mom and dad to let me shrink them for ages because they're dentists and they don't think that teeth and magic should, I guess, mix. But I don't know. Did you have any other thoughts on her doing that behind her parents' back? She deliberately disobeyed them.
She did. So the first thing I'm going to say is the fact that I'm going to touch on the fact that you said, oh, she doesn't seem like one who cares about appearance. It doesn't seem like something you would have expected from her. And I think part of that is I think she's a strong enough person to hide it, but I don't think that means those feelings aren't there. I think it was never on screen, if you will, the self-consciousness about her looks. So that would be my guess.
And you could say it's easily embroiled in all of the other self-conscious things that we've seen her do, you know, where maybe the rougher sides of Hermione have been filtered into a self-conscious state, and it comes off as putting up her defenses of being a bookie nerd almost so hard to offset that and protect herself, like a self-preservation.
Because you don't care.
Right.
Because I have this other thing that is cooler than worrying about how I look or how I'm dressed, or
which is good.
I have a watch. You know how we keep an eye on a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we watch whenever Fred and George are a little bit different. We watch for a couple of things. Well, I have a chess watch. Ron plays chess.
I highlighted that whole section as well.
And wins.
Yeah, soundly.
An exciting checkmate involving a couple of recklessly brave pawns and a very violent bishop.
I loved it because I remember whenever we're being visited, don't knock on the door. Either come in or don't. Whenever we were first at book 1, we were like, man, does he ever play chess again? So I did my full, complete series sweep, and this was one of them that came up, and I was like, okay, that one sounds good. That sounds like a pretty good shoe-in of chess. Ron still likes playing chess. It wasn't just a only book 1 thing. Yeah, come here.
I want to tell you.
Go tell me.
My show is picking up trash now.
Oh my gosh. Can you say hello to everyone?
Hello.
Hey,
say none buggles allowed?
None buggles allowed.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go on. Close the door behind you. All right. And that was the Gryffindor at home. What are we? Ron playing chess. Yes. And that's about it. He does that, and he wins.
Then, I love how the boys have no clue why Hermione needs so much time to get ready.
You need 3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours. And that's not terrible, especially for as much work as she has to do on her hair. And, you know, I'm sure there's shaving and makeup and possibly eyebrow plucking. It takes time, gentlemen. We don't all wake up like this.
Yeah, me either. No, this is pretty much how I woke up. Because that was about 20 minutes ago. Yeah, it's not surprising to me that the boys are asking that question. I think it's very realistic because they don't have... Most of them didn't grow up watching television with teen sitcoms and things like that. They didn't have Saved by the Bell growing up to have these jokes. So it's probably brand new information for them. Especially for Harry and the Weasley brothers. Right. Jenny's not doing this yet. I mean, they didn't grow up with her being like that, so... Well,
and Harry's got no girls. I mean, Aunt Petunia hardly counts, so...
Well, but I guess he would see her doing that, potentially, of, where'd Aunt Petunia go? You guys are going to dinner, and she hasn't been seen since noon.
Yeah, but it's different than, teenage girls and their routines.
That's fair.
When they care.
Yeah, that's fair. You want to talk about Christmas morning?
Okay, go ahead. What do you know about Christmas morning?
I thought it was funny how Dobby wakes Harry up by staring directly into his eyes, standing with his nose.
What your toddlers do?
It is exactly how I woke up this morning. It's very close. It's don't do that. That's what Harry says too. But luckily
my kids have outgrown that age.
Right.
I was the first one up at my house. They're all still sleeping.
So Harry gives Dobby one of the socks, right? And I think we're going to get into a little bit of the presents a little bit later, but it says there was also, of course, Mrs. Weasley's usual package, including a new sweater, green with a picture of a dragon on it. Harry supposed Charlie had told her all about the horntail and a large quantity of homemade mince pies. Why is it Charlie the one that's going to be telling her? Why doesn't Ron write to his mother?
I feel like
it's not like Charlie lives at home. He's in Romania, as far as we know. Again,
that's true. But as a sibling of boys who all don't call their mothers very often sometimes, there are other siblings who do a good job of keeping the mom informed of those siblings who don't call their mothers as often as others might. And maybe Charlie talks to his mom a lot.
You're saying Charlie's a mama's boy.
Somebody has to be. Just because you're the favorite doesn't mean you don't have to call your mother. Just saying.
You talking to me or Charlie?
Ron, actually. Ron should call his mother.
Yes.
Or write to his mother. My guess is Ron doesn't because he's Ron. Like, another thing I have to write. I can barely write my inches for my history essay. Why would I write my mom?
Yeah.
That's
It's another chore.
Right. Like, talking to my mother, that sounds terrible. So.
What for? What could she possibly need? She has magic.
Think her.
Oh, man. All right, that's all I had on that. I thought it was interesting. I was like, why is Charlie the one that has to tell her? Like, why don't you write to Mrs. Weasley?
Maybe he's just nice enough to remember that mom needs to know things too.
Yeah. Quick shout out to the fat lady and her friend Vi, who are getting a little tipsy on a few boxes of empty boxes of chocolate liqueurs.
With the fairy lights and the airy fights and the
Larry fights.
I love it. So, are we ready for the ball?
Ready for the ball.
All right, here we go. First of all, I'm going to talk about Roger Davies. Roger Davies, right? The Ravenclaw Quidditch captain who was very fortunate to have landed Fleur as a partner. It specifically said he just looked stunned by his good fortune, right? Like, he's just so amazed that he landed this beautiful girl, blah, 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 blah. Is he actually, like, bewildered by this, or do you think he might have been bewitched, given Vila powers?
I think it's certainly a bit of both. Like, I think he's certainly enthralled by her in a magical-ish way. I don't know if she actively turned that on him, or if it's just something that is naturally there. But, like, we know with the full Vila, it seemed like it was something that they turned on, right? Because that was when, like there were two specific times where the charm, I guess, button, the Vila charm thing was switched to on, and that's when things went haywire a couple times. But I don't know, I think as a half Vila, it might not be as controllable, or, because, I don't know, the way she's talking to him, it seems like she's potentially at least somewhat interested, especially for what we find out goes on later in the chapter. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think?
I kind of want to, like, lay it down too. We know she turned on the charm right earlier in chapter 22 because Ron got a blast of it when she was probably trying to catch herself a Roger Davies. But my guess is he's just a dumb teenager who, like, ooh, pretty girl, right? Like, that's what I'm going with. Maybe he's just a dumb jock, although he's in Ravenclaw, so that's hard to believe.
Smart jock.
He's a smart jock who's still just like a teenage boy with teenage boy hormones, and that's just all he can do is just be excited that he's with the pretty girl.
I think that's incredibly fair. You know, and I think that's typically how I've actually read it, of him just being like, wow, she's hot. Wow. Oh my God.
And it's that look for 3.5 hours.
Right.
That's it. Doesn't progress from there.
But he doesn't ruin it, I guess. It ends up working out for him, if that's what he's been thinking about.
Sure.
Don't judge them.
How about we judge Crumb and his choice of date?
Yeah, who, as Harry sees him walking up, it says, Crumb was at the front of the party, accompanied by a pretty girl in blue robes Harry didn't know. As he's, like, scanning the crowd, I don't know.
How do you not recognize your best friend?
Because his jaw dropped. It was Hermione, but she didn't look like Hermione at all. So that's why. In Harry's head, that doesn't look anything like Hermione. Because I'm so used to her looking this way that the juxtaposition of her looking that way, that they can't be the same person.
Yeah,
like
I mean, she had done her hair.
Ooh. It's like all of those movies about, like, the nerdy girl, you know, who has her hair in a ponytail and wears glasses, and then some guy comes along and magically changes her by taking out the ponytail and removing the glasses, and oh my God, now nobody knows who she is because she's so beautiful.
Don't forget the paint-stained overalls. It's exactly what it's like.
It's super frustrating.
It's pretty funny,
Just
though.
saying.
Those references are pretty funny. This is like, come on, Harry. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Yes, that's very 80s teen rom-com.
90s too. There was a lot of that. Very Freddie Prinze Jr.-ish.
Yeah, yep.
Literally, Freddie Prinze Jr. as Victor Crumb, and this would be pretty much every movie made in the 90s.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you're right. Which is when this was written.
See?
I mean, at least parts of it, yeah.
All right. So Percy shows up.
Yeah, he does.
Is there nobody else in the ministry who could fill Mr. Crouch's role? Like anybody else? No one else of any more importance than Percy Weasley? It had to be Percy? Or am I like caring too much about this?
No, I mean, he did get promoted, you know? I'm now Mr. Crouch's personal assistant, and I'm here representing him.
Great, it's his job to go pick up his dry cleaning and get his coffee.
And from his tone, he might have been announcing his election as supreme ruler of the universe.
I just took a drink. I can't spit take. Okay.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny.
Percy, he just rubs me the wrong way sometimes. Like, he's probably a guy that if I were to know him and hang out with him, I'd probably like him as a person and just forgive some of these kinds of things. But when that's all we see, it's very hard to have a place in my heart for him, like I do pretty much every other Weasley, except for the accountant cousin.
Yeah, because we don't talk about accountants.
No.
I do also love right here that Harry was like, Harry wanted very much to ask whether Mr. Crouch had stopped calling Percy Weatherby yet, but resisted the temptation. Like, nice job, Harry. Easy jab he could have gotten, but decided to just let it go. Like, but pretty funny.
So I love that Dumbledore. So they're all eating dinner, right? Dumbledore claims he doesn't know all the secrets of Hogwarts. True or false?
True. I
because
highlighted the whole
about
section.
The magical bathroom.
Yeah.
All right.
You knew I would highlight. That's another thing that I would certainly catch here. And
yes.
I love the vanishing bathroom concept, and I think part of the magic of something like Hogwarts is you'll never be able to figure out every single secret because it's inherently magical and has kind of a soul of its own. Like, I feel like it's been growing and doing magic on its own kind of thing at times, and that's where
what the staircases do.
Exactly. The staircases, the vanishing steps, like all of these certain trick doors. Like, I think some of those weren't originally built by the original architect of Hogwarts, but have kind of developed or were added on over time.
And I guess you would say if anyone claimed to know all the secrets, that's just hubris, right? Like, if somebody's like, I've learned every secret of Hogwarts, that's just somebody who's kind of full of themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas Dumbledore shows a bit of humility in that, like, I know a lot, but like, even like, there's no way you can know everything, and that's okay to admit that, no, I don't know everything.
Yeah, it's the difference between imposter syndrome and the Dunning-Kruger effect, where imposter syndrome is like, man, I know quite a bit, but like knowing quite a bit knows that there's a much deeper well of knowledge that you're not able to get to, and just you won't be able to, as opposed to the Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's like, wow, I took a psychology class in high school, and now I'm a psychological expert. Like,
right.
No, like you're fooling yourself, just like Styx used to sing about, and that's a great song. But I think that's kind of what we're supposed to see here. Of, you know, Dumbledore is humble. I think he's very aware of his intellectual prowess, and he's not going to hide it, but he's also not going to flaunt it. But I think with that, he realizes, yeah, I don't know absolutely everything, and that would be asinine of me to even make a claim like that. That would just be ridiculous.
Right.
So,
how could I know it all?
Right. Not gonna happen, though.
Okay. So, I don't, we don't like to talk about the movies. We don't like to talk about the movies.
It's okay sometimes.
Okay. I really, really, really like movie Neville better than book Neville when it comes to this chapter, which I feel like I could be throwing down some fighting words here. Book Neville steps on Ginny's toes all night long and she's wincing and he's like awkward. Movie Neville is practicing dancing all along, and I'm like, is this really cute and adorable dancer all through the movie. I think that's the one thing from this movie, and we'll talk about it when we get to our movie episode. Stay tuned for like 6 months from now, kids. But it's the one thing that I think the movie improved upon, because it wasn't just, oh, Neville, the round-faced, forgetful boy who can't do anything right. Thoughts?
I agree with you so entirely that I don't even like saying that publicly.
I know, it's bad.
But no, you're right, because, I mean, we have constantly been complaining for the first 3.5 books that, like, come on, it's Neville. You don't have to call him Neville Longbottom. A fat, friendly, round-faced boy, like, forgetful, every single time. And this is what it's like when headphones die. So, I'll talk to the chat. Thank you for joining us, Queen Lexi and Gia. Always nice to see you. Glad you could join us. If you're catching this episode later on, just realize we are live streaming, recording all of our episodes from now on, as much as we can. And we would love to see you guys in the chat and hang out with us, even when it's 7 in the morning, and or if it's 9 at night. It's a pretty flexible schedule. Oh, and there's Lorelai. She can't hear me, but that's Lorelai. Say something. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
How about now?
Hey, there you are.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Oh, gosh. Oh, geez.
I died.
Yeah, I see that.
And I morphed.
We saw that too. You're like, oh, Ed, it's Lorelai now. Hello, Lorelai. That devilish grin. She's still feeling the ramifications of the last 5-chap recap. Yep.
All right, go away. Thank you.
All right.
They have teenagers. They have lots of sets of headphones. That's it. That's their benefit.
That's true.
I love you.
So, what was the last thing that...
Neville's dancing.
Neville. Yeah, so we've literally just been complaining, you and I, about it's not Neville Longbottom, round-faced, forgetful, dope, dumb, irresponsible friend. It's Neville at this point. Like, we know he's got some skills in certain things. Like, we know this. Like, give him a chance. Like, stop just railing on him all the time. And I like that in the movie they show some character development of him putting the effort in, him, realizing he's not going to be a naturally gifted at this, but it's something he would like to be good at because he cares about the person he's going with. Like, regardless of who it is, he thinks in his mind they deserve me to not embarrass them.
Right.
So he's putting the effort in, and I really, really like that about his character in the movie compared to the character assassination over and over and over again in the book.
Over the head with a frying pan that says, Neville is worthless.
You're very quiet now.
Well, this is the best I can do.
That sounds better if you don't mind holding it sitting like that for a while.
I don't look dumb at all. I said, it's like being hit over the head with a frying pan that says, Neville is worthless. Hey, remember? Neville is worthless. Bam!
Right. And that's not cool.
No. All right. Is anyone else concerned about the age gap between Victor and Hermione? Or is that just me? Like, am I being too mom about that? He's an 18, like, if I think in terms of, like,
He's
American
17
school,
minimum.
right? He's an 18, probably, because,
We don't know.
17 or 18-year-old senior, right? Like a senior in high school.
Again,
She's
we
a
don't know if
freshman.
he's in his last year.
He has to be 17, and he played in the Quidditch World Cup. My assumption is that he's at least 17.
He's at least 6th year age.
Again, he's at least 17.
Yeah.
She's 14. She's a freshman. That feels like a large age gap to me in high school years. Not so much in like grown-up years. I don't mean that, but like in high school years and development, it feels largish.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if... Yeah, no, it could be. I don't know. I don't have much to say on it.
And again, I think it's just a mom thing. Because if my freshman was like, hey, I'm going to date literally the most popular senior in the country on the continent, it would give me some pause and a little bit of concern, just a little.
I think it's certainly worth pausing about. I agree. Can you hear me?
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
No, you're not. You're not crazy. I think you're supposed to overlook it in the story just for narrative purposes.
And I usually do. But
Yeah.
again, when you're reading slowly, chapter by chapter, and, it's not 20 years ago when I just got married and was reading this book or was about to get married, but now I've got teenagers of my own, and your perspective is just a little different.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Just a little. Like, I'm so much reading this more like a mom would, watching all of the kids do the things at the ball rather than putting myself in place of the kids like I did the first time.
Mm-hmm.
More like I'm the teacher observing and watching and chaperoning, going, oh, teenagers. Ugh.
I do really love her teaching him how to say her name. That is
Yes.
a direct shot at the fandom for
Mhm.
never knowing how to say her name for the first 3 books. Is it Hermione? Is it Hermione? Like, no, like, it's a name. It's a real name. Like, I always read that as a specific, this is how you say her name. Like, this is
Oh,
how
yeah.
you do it.
And I have made it abundantly clear over the last 3.5 books that I don't pronounce things well. They are how they are in my brain, and I know what they mean, but that doesn't mean that's how it sounds in real life. I was a direct person affected by this scene. This is how you say it. Oh, that makes so much more sense. I don't remember how I used to say it. I just know it was wrong.
I think early on I would go with Hermione, like just looking at it, that's what it would look like to me. But I think
Because there's a
I
silent
think I
M on
looked it
the
up
end.
like around book 1, where it's like, oh, well, that's also kind of odd. But I'd like to get people's names right, like that's fine.
Right.
So I thought that was a pretty funny thing. And then we get the Weird Sisters showing up too, right?
Yes.
And it says there was a set of drums, several guitars, a lute, a cello, and some bagpipes. What an ensemble! I mean, and also, how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 people in the band, and I would assume that there's also a singer. Maybe the bagpiper is a singer, or maybe one of the guitarists is the singer.
The
On and
bagpiper
off with the
can't be a
bagpipes.
singer?
On and off with the pipes. Maybe not every song needs bagpipes.
Yeah, but every song needs lyrics.
No, they don't. Only
Okay,
bad
we're gonna
songs.
just always disagree on that one.
We will. But I really liked, the overall description of it. It says the Weird Sisters now trooped onto the stage to wildly enthusiastic applause. They were all extremely hairy and dressed in black robes that had been artfully ripped and torn. They picked up their instruments, and Harry, who had been so interested in watching them that he had almost forgotten that what was coming, suddenly realized that the lanterns on all the other tables had gone out, and that the other champions and their partners were standing up. "Come on," said Parvati, or Parvati hissed. "We're supposed to dance." Just a good introduction, description of them, and then kind of leads into Miss Patil taking the reins.
Oh, thank goodness for her, right? Like, at least somebody's there keeping Harry on track.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yep. Okay, so we have a dance. I don't really have much on the dance. It was a dance, which Harry and Ron did not participate in because they're a bunch of big, silly freshman boys and they don't know any better. That's kind of what it came down to.
Yeah, the only thing on the dance itself, I thought it was interesting that the teachers were all kind of dancing around and having a good time along with it. It's nice to see. It's not just boring chaperones all on the edges, which is Snape's job. He's the boring, snide chaperone on the side because he's kind of the worst. But
that's why he's kind of my spirit animal, sort of, sometimes, because I'd be that guy.
I
I
know.
just would.
I know, you're evil.
Thanks.
But the thing that stands out to me most is Mad Eye Moody being able to see Harry's socks through his robes, right? And I think that starts answering some of the questions of, like, what are the limitations to this eye? And even Parvati is like, he is so creepy, I don't think that eye should be allowed. Pretty reasonable, like, with underage girls all around and it can see through clothes. Like, that is really kind of messed up.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
Let's
come
hope
on,
he's
Dumbledore.
using it for good and not evil.
Yeah, but still, that's just...
I know. Creepy.
Yeah.
It's creepy. I'm with you.
It is creepy.
Creepy. Okay, so I have like 3 other points, 2 of which we can interchange, and then one is kind of an end of chapter thought.
Okay.
I'm going to go with, so Hagrid's a giant.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Half giant, right?
Half giant.
Yeah, I was not surprised by this at all. Because even in, like, was it chapter 4 in book 1 where they're like, a giant of a man walked through the door, like,
Too big to be allowed.
that was the only time I believe the word giant had been used to describe him, and I think she pulled that back after that to not fully claim that he was a giant, just to
She
open
could
up.
save the reveal.
Yeah, reveal it later to be a narrative thing. But I don't know, what did you think? I wasn't very surprised.
I wasn't surprised either. I think was like, well, yeah, of course he is.
Exactly Harry's response. Well, yeah. I mean, like, okay, what of it?
Yeah, like I'm sorry, I'm looking for new information.
Right. What are we upset about? Did you just find out his name is Hagrid, Ron? I mean, come on. Like, no, there's nothing new here.
Right. All right. Then my other one, are you ready for this?
Yes.
Ron versus Hermione.
Oh man, painful.
Go.
Hey, shut the heck up, Ron. Like, you big baby. I don't know. I really try to be a Ron supporter. This is one of the areas where it's not easy. A lot of book 4, a lot of a couple later books, but just grow up. I don't know. He's
I
frustrating.
just want him to stand there in his wrongness and be wrong.
Yeah.
Because he's wrong.
Very wrong.
There is no scenario where his reaction is right. And here's how I know it's wrong. It's so wrong, Harry knows it.
Yeah, that's pretty blatant.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, Harry's almost as clueless as you are. And if he can see your wrongness, you just gotta own it.
Yes. Painful.
Mm-hmm. Hermione
I hate
is right.
the stubbornness. I hate the, well, you're clearly talking about something else and you're hanging your hat on this one really dumb argument just to make yourself feel better about not talking about the other thing, which is him realizing he should have asked her to the dance, but regrets it and is just mad at her because of his own selfishness
and idiotness.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here's my last thought of the chapter. It was really nice-ish of Cedric to help with the egg clue, sort of.
Yeah, I had a note on that as well. Go for it.
Well, like, I'm glad Cedric realizes that Harry may not be the most evil thing in the world for being in the tournament, and that he recognizes Harry was helpful with the dragons, and so he wants to help with the egg. But could you be a little more forthcoming with why or detail? Like, it just seems very sketchy.
The comparison of, hey, take a bath, and hey, we have to face dragons.
Right.
Not quite apples to apples here.
And I'm not saying you have to give away everything, but like, why am I taking my egg with me to a bathtub? What? Give me a little more. So I just, but he didn't have to do that at all. So that's at least helpful. And of course, Harry's not so happy with Cedric, so we'll see how that goes. But
right.
It was like, well, at least he said something, but I just don't know how helpful it was. But then we're also talking a 7th year versus a 4th year. So a 7th year feels like I can say that and I'm not technically breaking the rules to not help because we're smart enough to be able to figure that out. And a 4th year who is maybe not as developmentally sound or has not, the reasoning skills aren't as progressed.
And has tournament plot armor that he's not going to get in trouble. Like, it's Harry that we're, no.
Oh, where'd Lorelai go? Hold on. Right. Harry's never going to get in trouble. Like, he's again, the theme. Harry's kind of clueless, right? In that he's not going to pick up on a clue. He needs it blatantly spelled out for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just not progressed enough developmentally to catch it all, I think.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Do you have any other notes for us?
I have a lot more highlighted things, but I think we'll kind of work them into favorite lines, superlatives.
Sounds good. And now it's time to jump into your 5 burning questions.
These are questions from me to you. Yeah, I'm confused by the way we're doing this nowadays. This is like the first time we've ever done these. Yeah.
No, it's not, but it's okay.
I'm kidding. That was hey, we've been doing this for how many books?
Oh, right.
It was fourth wall. We're doing. You and I are doing this a little bit differently. So question number 1: should Harry feel bad that he didn't even think of getting Dobby a Christmas present?
Like, my gut reaction would be to say yes, because like he's there and they're friends-ish. But honestly, I wouldn't have thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm really bad at gift giving. So, and I'm not like a thoughtful person in that like people will give me a card like, oh, something happened and here's a card. I hope you're okay. I'm like, supposed to give cards for stuff like that. Like, I'm just not that kind of person.
I'm here. That's the gift.
Well, or like I know to give gifts to family and things, but like I just those thoughtful, sentimental kinds of things, it's not my strong suit. Can I interest you in a sarcastic comment? I'm really good at that. Distraction.
Would you like some wit?
Sentimental hugs and cards. You got the wrong girl. So I would be Harry in that moment of like somebody giving you something and you're like, well,
that's the kind of relationship. Oh, that's different.
Thanks. Right. I was not mentally prepared for this. Let me get back to you.
Yeah, no, I wrapped it up and everything. It's a lampshade. You can have it.
Exactly. Let me get you a used set of headphones.
Right, that are dead right now because I just got them and they didn't come charged.
Let me find the charger for you, hidden in the bottom of my
Here's
backpack.
that carabiner that I got for you.
Fine. I have a mug in the back of my cabinet that I was hiding.
Got like 900 guitar picks. You can have your pick of like 200.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Harry did, and I am glad he had the wherewithal to even think of that.
Yeah, and so I'm not very surprised by him not thinking of it, but I also think that he's the kind of person that, oh, that door is open. I will remember next time, and he will act upon it and won't forget. Like, it's almost, once you set that precedent in a friendship or anything, like you open that door, then it becomes a thing. That's why I just say, don't. Like,
Me too.
Because I'm gonna forget. So don't put the onus back on me. I'll forget.
Right.
And I'll feel bad. Your present, I like it now. The guilt later, not a fan of.
So maybe I should remind you that your nephew's birthday party is tonight.
I already know. Mom reminded me yesterday.
Excellent. We know how Luke works. It's fine.
Write it down for me. Question number 2. What was Harry's best Christmas present this year?
Okay, so I feel like we need to go through the list of Christmas presents before we can choose the best. Are you ready for the list?
Yes.
From Dobby, socks. One sock was red with broomsticks, and the other sock was green with snitches.
Hand stitched.
Yes. He got a single tissue. He got the book Quidditch Teams of Britain and Ireland. He got dung bombs. He received a penknife with attachments, a box of sweets, a green sweater with a dragon, and homemade mince pies. Mince pies. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to go with the one that I like the best first, the one that I would want.
Okay.
I think the socks and the sweater are the two best gifts because they are handmade with love and they are very Harry specific.
They are very hairy.
Right, like
Covered in hair.
nice. Particularly the socks, which yes, they don't match, but they are red and green, which is Christmas colors. So like they sort of go and
Are they
have
the
a
same
theme.
cut? Are they the same length? Then they
I don't know.
match.
Right. And like red with broomsticks and green with snitches. That's very Quidditch. Like it's a theme.
It's themed.
I can go with that.
It's like having a left and a right sock. It's a pair.
Yes. And I mean, my kids don't pair socks ever. They just pull out two at random and that's what you get. So whatever. Makes laundry so much easier, by the way.
Yeah.
But the book, the gift I would want is the book, The Quidditch Teams of Britain and Ireland. I like reading. You?
Right. I like the socks and sweater combo. I think that's but I also see a big use for a single tissue because I feel like I blow my nose all the time. So to me, that's like the most practical. That along with the pen knife, which was neat. Open any lock. Pretty convenient.
Yeah, I usually have keys for that, but it's cool.
For the son of a marauder, kind of perfect.
Don't they also have a charm that does that, though?
This could open even magically locked, is what we're assuming.
Okay.
Question 3. Does Ron truly realize just these past few chapters that Hermione is, in fact, a girl?
So I think he's always registered the fact that she was female.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Biologically, yes.
Right. I know that sounds like a dumb distinction, but I think that's important.
I think it's important.
What he is not fully recognizing, it's the fact that she's his female. Like, she's my friend. She's my whatever. And then all of a sudden she's doing things that girls do, but not with me. So not that I'm sure it's not I don't want to date you but I don't want you to do that with anybody else. I just want you to be my friend and be there with me. Like it's a very egocentric way of looking at her being a girl. So it's less about noticing her like he would notice a pretty girl somewhere else and more about, but you're my person, you're my girl, and you're supposed to just be my friend next to me doing these things. And the fact that she's doing girl things outside of that, I don't know if that's coming off the way I want it to, but
well, I mean,
I'm going to stop there.
In a very different circumstance, I feel like I had some eye-opening things with our sister Abby, like that of like, hey, she's always just been one of the guys hanging out, very tomboyish growing up, and then all of a sudden, why are you doing girl things? Like, where did you go?
You're wearing a dress?
What happened? Like, nothing wrong with it. I'm just confused. I don't know how to tell you that. Not that it was ever really a problem. It's just I can kind of see if that is Ron's perspective of, well, you've always just been Hermione, and now you're changing, and I wasn't aware of it, and this is like very in your face change. I think he's just dealing with some surprise and frustration of not being along with her. Like,
Well, and I think part of it too, like more than just a sister, like it might be that awareness that, oh, I can look at you like,
right. That's what I was
and
like,
and
circumstances
maybe
are
it's
very
not that
different.
I want to look at you like I look at other girls, but I don't want other guys to look at you like I look at other girls.
Right. Yeah, I think that's
I
fair.
bet that's it.
I think that could definitely be it.
It could be.
And yeah, adolescent jealousy.
Yes.
Pretty well written, I think. Question 4. What has got Karkaroff so flustered? So we didn't really talk much about this scene because we knew we had this question coming up. So
I don't know. Maybe it says it's been getting clearer and clearer for months. I'm becoming seriously concerned. I can't deny it. Maybe it's the fact that the goblet is favoring Hogwarts students and has picked 2. Remember back in I want to say the chapter with the amazing illustration. I think
War
it was
Champions.
17. Yeah, that one. He was like, well, we just won't come next time. And maybe that's making him angry again.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole year event, right? And so this has been frustration for quite some time now. And hey, guess what? All 4 champions are being put on display out for the Yule Ball to start things. So yeah, I think it could be opening up those wounds or frustrations again.
Talk about somebody who needs to just get over it.
And he realized in that conversation, Karkaroff realized that Snape isn't a big Harry fan either, so I can open up to him, right?
Right.
I gotta have
Maybe they went
friend.
to like teacher training school together or something.
Could have. They did their residency, or what's the student teaching, the residency.
Oh,
Get out of here.
come on now. Like the Wizarding world has student teaching. There's no preparation.
Hey, you want to teach? Good, we need one. Come on. You'll do.
There are programs that do that, but in general, that's not how most teacher training happens. We're not all Lockharts.
But we could be.
I like throwing him in. Okay.
Question number 5. Giants are viewed similar to trolls. Is the hate/prejudice warranted? Or do we just not have enough information yet?
I don't have enough information other than, like, there's obviously some negative connotation to being a giant or I don't know if there's enough to be able to say one way or the other, hey, that absolutely is reasonable, or, maybe we should not judge a group of people or a group of beings by their stereotype and, go individual case by case. Maybe that's a watch this space kind of a thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's certainly a prejudice, but we don't know enough about the history of it to really see if the fear is warranted. I mean, but we'll let that sit for now.
All right, Lucifer, let's jump into your favorite line. Which means you finally have to pick one.
I know. I had 3 singled out, and I think I know which one I'm going to go with. But I'm going to give you my 2 honorable mentions, if I may.
Sure.
I don't know who Maxime thinks she's kidding. Harry said, watching Madame Maxime sitting alone at the judge's table, looking very somber. If Hagrid's half giant, she definitely is. Big bones. The only thing that's got bigger bones than her is a dinosaur. That was one of them.
A little judgy, but funny.
Whenever Dobby was in giving his presents to Harry, and Dobby sees that, they has made a mistake in the shop, Harry Potter. They is giving you 2 the same. Aw, no, Harry. How come you didn't spot that? Said Ron, grinning over his own bed, which was now strewn with wrapping paper. Tell you what, Dobby, here you go. Take these 2, and you can mix them up properly. And here's your sweater. Good Ron moment, pretty funny, like, oh, come on, like, just bails Harry out of, like, this other... Harry just did, like, as much as he could to, like, ease this, wow, okay, I kind of messed up, and Ron helps him out, so all of the hate that Ron's gotten, this was a good Ron scene.
So literally the one thing in a chapter full of not good Ron choices that Ron did.
Yeah. He did well in the, in chess as well, and the snowball
fight. So
fight.
hit or miss chapter for Ron.
A couple big misses.
Okay, so what was your actual favorite?
My actual favorite line was when Percy comes back to sit next to Ron and Harry after their dates have both ditched them. It goes,
so.
And then Mr. Bagman and the Weasley twins are chatting, and then Percy's like, sorry, Mr. Crouch, if they're bothering you, and they're talking or whatever, and Percy starts talking to Bagman, and on the side, it goes, "Let's go for a walk," Ron muttered to Harry. "Get away from Percy." I love that Ron blatantly uses this, Ludo Bagman brush off technique. It's like, let's go ahead and let's get away from Percy. Like, that's just gonna be better for everyone.
Run while
I
you
thought it was
can.
pretty funny.
Yes. All right. Line was right around the time of the gift giving with Dobby, and it's after Ron does his whole "here's my sweater" and all of that. Dobby said, "Sir is very kind," he squeaked, his eyes brimming with tears again, bowing deeply to Ron. "Dobby knew Sir must be a great wizard, for he is Harry Potter's greatest friend, but Dobby did not know that he was also generous of spirit, as noble, as selfless." Nobody would describe Ron that way, and it's nice that Dobby sees it, however hidden it might be.
Yeah, I think it's all completely true.
Yes, varied. So, was your chapter MVP?
I'm gonna give my chapter MVP to the Weird Sisters. I thought the introduction to them, the ensemble of instruments, were very interesting, and I'd like to see them live.
Same. Well, that's not true. I'm not a big live music person, but I would like you to see them live.
Okay.
You just let me know how it goes.
I will.
Awesome. So my honorable mention goes to Pavarti Patil, not for ditching Harry at the in the middle of the ball, although I'm cool with that.
And Harry was cool with that.
Yeah, we don't care. That's fine. Like, they were going as friends anyway, so like, you go have fun. I'm good. But for steering during the official champions dance, she took over. She got him through it. She didn't make him look like an idiot, because he, left to his own devices, he would have failed that miserably. So she really kind of saved him in that moment. So good job. And I think we're done.
Hang on.
And that wraps us up for the day. We are available on a variety of social media. Find us at Not Named Podcast on Twitter. You can email us at notnamedpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube at The Podcast That Must Not Be Named, and hit that subscribe and notification bell so that you can join us live whenever we stream this. We are streaming today. And hello to our chat. Thank you to our friends who are hanging out with us. We have somebody wants us to sing "Can You Dance Like a Hippogriff" in our live chat. So, all kinds of fun happening there. Other things you can do is find our website, thepodcastthat.com, where you can find this show and all of our shows, and go ahead and go to the support us page, where you can find a variety of ways to support this show and keep all of our podcasts going, so we can bring you content like this all of the time.
Make sure you go and subscribe, like, and rate, and leave comments on iTunes as well as on YouTube. And be sure to, even if you don't use iTunes, check us out on Radio Public. They have an Android app and iOS app too, whatever, iPhone users. But if you listen to our podcast or any of the podcasts at thepodcastthat.com, everyone benefits. They give us a nice little kickback just for you listening to our shows. So we truly appreciate you supporting us in that way.
Join us next week for chapter number 24.
Rita Skeeter's Scoop. Stay imaginary.
Thanks.